Elizabeth. I'm a first generation Latina applying to law schools right now. I am now the aspiring attorney, rebranding of my name. That was Alondra Elizabeth Goes to Law School before. Um, Welcome back. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for being here. So today's video, I'll be going over the schools that I'm applying to, schools that were on my list, and that I took them off for a certain reason, and just kind of explain why I'm applying to these schools, like the reasoning behind that. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I'll be hitting submit on my applications before Thanksgiving, so the moment I get my LSAT score back. And I just felt like throughout this entire process, I was very unsure what I was doing. I didn't have much anybody to guide me, so I did kind of learn this by making mistakes. So I just kind of thought I would share what went into this process for me, and kind of the edited version, because I'm not gonna walk you guys through every single mistake I made, but just share what I did. And I hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe if you haven't. So when I first started my process, I started it in from like around June, July. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was planning on taking the LSAT in July. So around June, July, when I came back from my trip to Mexico, and when I already knew I wasn't going to be taking the exam that month, I started researching schools. So I just straight up went on Google and looked up immigration law schools, because immigration is already something that I wanted to do. So I mean, if you know what you want to do, then one of the advices that I've heard is to research schools that have clinics or just have programs that it's in the field, in your field of interest. So that's kind of how I started. Oh, and I was very keen on like staying in California. Like did not want to leave, because I was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to have to struggle having to take the California bar exam if I'm studying outside, etc. So I maintained myself to California, and that they had something to do with immigration. And from kind of studying that, I went ahead and like I would look into the GPA and like LSAT scores, not their ranking, because I like at this point, after having graduated from UCLA and like doing a big school, like for law school I want to do something smaller. Like for me, like big brand law is not something I'm interested in, just because immigration is a field where I just get to serve the community, and I just feel like I do not need a big brand law for that. So I was just like, I'm okay with anywhere that I go as long as they have a good immigration program, and that I'll be able to get hands-on experience majority of my time that I'm there. So that's the criteria that I went in looking for law schools. And I mean, I was not doing it like every day. It wasn't like a day-to-day thing. So I kind of definitely kept researching all the way up until September. Kind of just researching things, and I came up with the list of 5 schools: UC Hastings, Stanford, UCLA, University of San Diego, and the University of San Francisco. And so this is where my first vlog came about, on Labor Day weekend, where my friends Jesus, Frank, and I went to San Francisco to visit law school. From that trip, I eliminated one of the schools off that list, UC Hastings. The area that the school was in was just not an area that I can see myself being at for the next 3 years. So although it had a great immigration program and was a school that I was originally very excited about, I did end up taking it off my list, because location, as you have heard and as you will hear, is very important for where you end up going to law school, because that's where you'll be making, your networking, where you'll probably get your first job. I personally plan on staying in the city that I end up going to law school for at least 3 years after I graduate. So I'm looking at a place that I'll be going to for the next 6 years of my life. So since I don't even see myself being in that area for the next 3 years, certainly not the next 6. So yes, so that dwindled my list, and from that trip I realized that I needed to broaden my research, to keep researching and keep looking at schools that I could apply to. So that led me to a Google search where I literally looked up law schools in California. And that led me to UC Davis, Santa Clara, and yeah, so I added those 2 schools to my list. I think you remember on that vlog, Jesus was bugging me about applying to University of Texas and Arizona State University. So I did my research. I looked up both schools, and great immigration programs, good schools, support for first gen, and just generally good vibes, right? So that's kind of what I gained from them. So I am adding those two out of states schools to add it to my list. I'm doing more research about a state because I'm still a little nervous of going out, but immigration is federal law, so I was like, can't always be dumb to limit myself to California. So I did extend that list. So, that led me to a list of University of San Diego, University of San Francisco, Santa Clara, UC Davis, University of Texas in Austin, University of the Pacific McGeorge in Sacramento, and Arizona State University, as well as Stanford and UCLA. So now my school list was up to 9 schools, which is higher than the 5 and definitely higher than the 4 that I ended up having after the road trip. And I was feeling pretty good. So now we're like around September. Yeah, we're in September and I have my 9 schools. So around this time, I was like trying to figure out, like, will I be taking a gap year, as in like 2 gap years because I'm already taking 1, or will I be applying this cycle? And the reason why I was thinking about that, I mean, I was already set to take the October LSAT, but I was just trying to see, like, do I have enough time to apply to all these schools to just get everything I need, my personal statements, like, my letters of recommendation, just like everything to par, or would I benefit from a second gap year? So that was like a whirlwind of decision making, but I just, at the end, it was like I realized that me trying to plan a second gap year was coming out of a place of fear. Like, I was just too scared to really just get on with the process. Like, this is something that I've been dreaming about, being like an immigration attorney, for a really long time. So it's just like nervous to really get out there, and like afraid of like what that might look like in regards to the application results. But I just realized I'm gonna go for it. Like, this is what I've been wanting to do. Like, why would I wait anymore? Like, this is it. And so I continued with the application process. I had started personal statement writing in July. So by now, my personal statements have been 5th, 6th reviews. I had literally everyone under the sun read my personal statements, from old teachers, from peers, classmates, attorneys that I had met, like professionals, like literally everybody, strangers, not really strangers, I met them like networking once, and so they didn't know me, so I had them read the personal statements. And yeah, so last month, October, is like pretty much everything's put together for these 9 schools. And then November 1st, when about like 2 weeks before the LSAT, I decided to put my applications on pause so I can fully focus on the LSAT. So, fast forward to this week, where I'm like reviewing my applications and just making sure that everything's ready to go. That essentially all I'm doing right now is waiting for the LSAT score before hitting submit. I decided to actually not submit applications to Stanford and UCLA. Stanford was like that like little girl dream school that I had, and so I was carrying that along with me. But as I said earlier in this video, I was not looking for big law school, like big law. Like, I'm not interested in that for my law school career. I just feel that I did suffer from like burnout from being at UCLA for my undergrad. So it's just like doing that times 2 in law school is not something that I'm looking to. And also my application, like my GPA from UCLA was not the highest. So it's like I know that I have a low chance of getting in. It's going to cost me a lot of money to apply to the school. It's not something I actually really want. So it's like, why spend that money? I already spent the time, but why spend that extra effort of mine with my money to apply to a school that, who knows? Also, Stanford and UCLA take a really long time in getting back to you. All these other schools that I'm applying to, because I'm applying early, I'll be hearing back in about 2 weeks. But these schools still kind of take until April. So it's like, okay, if I don't really want to go to the school anymore, and I have to wait for them to respond, then that's just gonna extend my waiting period for no reason, essentially. So I did decide to take them off. I know I'm like kind of grouping UCLA and Stanford together, but they're similar schools. And then also for UCLA, I think it's more of a personal matter too, just because I've been there. I do want to branch out and be somewhere new, so going to the same school is not something I'm interested at all. And then also, like, kind of this fear, like, this is my school, my alma mater. What if I get rejected? So, like, I should not let myself be, like, led by my fears, but there's just definitely other reasons for why not. So I decided to take those two off my list. So I will now be applying to 7 schools. University of San Diego. This school, I really like the location. I visited this school. I've been to the school like various times, usually for Steubenville conferences. I definitely did tour their law school and with a pre-law program that I did at UCLA my sophomore year. And so I like the area. They had their immigration clinic is kind of new, but they do offer like a lot of support for like first generation and their law school students in general. So I just really like the vibe of the school. It's a small school, so that's something I really do like and want. So that is why I chose USD and why it's stayed on my list after having looked at my list for various times. And then University of San Francisco. Visiting it definitely did solidify for me because although they have an amazing immigration clinics, amazing opportunities in San Francisco. Their professors in immigration are like top notch. And then when I actually saw the campus, I love it. You know, it's so much green, so much grass. I've always said that the reason why I chose UCLA is because the campus is so pretty. And people make fun of me and they're like, no way. Like, you cannot have picked a school because it looked pretty. And of course, that's not the only reason, but it's a big factor. Like, for me, I just cannot see myself at a school stressed the F out, surrounded by boring brick buildings. You know, I like serenity, peacefulness, grass, the color green, nature, like, does it for me. So, San Francisco was amazing. The campus, very green, lots of places to sit. The school is small, so that also gives it a big plus for me. I've talked to current students there. It seems to be a very welcoming environment, which is kind of what I want. I do not want to be like competitive. You know, I'm someone who loves to give, and just, you know, the whole conversation I had with Jesus in my vlog when we went to visit the Bay Area. So it crossed off all my checks. I love it. Definitely one of my top like higher list schools that I would like to get into. So that is why University of San Francisco survived the visiting, the trip to the Bay Area. Santa Clara Law School is a school that came after. I do know people who have gone to that school, so I've also been able to talk to current students there. They have a great immigration program too, and one of the big pluses for me of that school is that they have a trip where they go to the border to volunteer. And that's something that, you know, after having spent a lot of my time volunteering during my undergraduate career, I love that I would have that opportunity to go back in a legal capacity to volunteer to the border. And yeah, that just is a big plus for me for that school. It's also a smaller school, so again, something I'm looking forward to. It's a trend. So Santa Clara, that's why I added it to my school. It is a bit close to home, and I really want to spread my wings and fly. But it's a good school, so it is on my list. UC Davis, they have such a good immigration program. They do a lot of work, like kind of more federal level ish. And so one thing for me is I definitely want to be an advocate in immigration. So not like, I don't want my entire career to just be working cases. I really want to try and make a difference for like the immigration system and immigration law as a whole. So UC Davis, I feel like I've always definitely feel that it's a school that would allow me to begin entering that world or that sphere of things. And it is a bigger school. It is a bigger school than most others, but it's also, you know, very nice campus. And although it would be a stretch for me to continue on that path, you know, something I was trying to stay a little bit away from, I am really excited about having Prospect and having that school on my application list. And then the University of Pacific McGeorge. So that one was totally new. I had never heard of it. That appeared after my return from the Bay Area, realizing I had to look for new schools. It's in Sacramento. It's a small school, so I love that. They do have like an immigration clinic on campus, and they also, I mean, it's in Sacramento, so they have ties to like the state level, and like immigration federal level would definitely allow me to expand into that sphere. So I'm super excited about that school, about having found it and adding that on my list. And the University of Texas Austin is one of the schools that Jesus kept bugging me about, that I had on my list. And after having researched it, I mean, they literally have ties to like DHS, right? So like the actual, like, where the immigration, all of the immigration decisions are made, and they do a lot of work with centers. And so again, just hands-on level work. That's the type of work that I love doing. Exciting. They also have a lot of support for the first generation students. They're a great school. I mean, that is my reach school, but I'm excited to keep it on my list. That's not my only actual reach school now, but I'm excited. I would love it. Super excited to like see myself there. I know I was nervous about leaving California, but I'm ready. I keep making fun of Jesus, but I'm ready to yeehaw, you know. I'm ready to explore Texas and explore Austin, and yeah, just be somewhere different and really make a difference. And then now in Arizona State University, another school that Jesus was telling me about. I'm a little bit iffy on this school just because from my research, I know that Arizona doesn't have too many ties, or California if I would want to come back. But they do have a really good immigration program, and it's in Arizona where I did my volunteer work in my undergraduate career. So I have a really like strong feeling that if I were to go to Arizona, I would be able to kind of keep those ties, or like strengthen those ties of where I volunteered, and be able to do that again in the legal capacity. So I love that opportunity and that ability to potentially be able to do that if I were to go to that school. So I'm really excited to be applying to that school as well. Those are all my schools, as you know. I'm just really excited. They all have really strong immigration programs. They all have really, they're all mostly very welcoming spaces. They have support for first generation students, and just in cities that I definitely do see myself being able to be at, live at, grow in. Yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, to recap, my application process was a lot of research from July of this year all the way up until September, when I had to do a double research when I was adding schools. And then also, I mean, throughout, like, I guess you'd never really finished researching, because as I was writing personal statements, some advice that I would get was be to like personalize a personal statement for the school. And for that, you have to do more research on the school. Like, you really need to know what the school is about in order to write a good personal statement for the law school. Not to mention that, like, if you really want to go there, you really should know a lot about the law school. And, at the end of the day, now that I'm applying, we'll be hitting submit in Thanksgiving, I 100% would be the happiest gal on earth to get into any of the schools I'm applying to. Like, I would go to any of them. So that, I think, is in a success within itself, because I'm excited. Like, I'm excited. I applied to schools all along the range, like safety, mid-range, reach school. So a long one coming, and very difficult, and with a lot of mistakes and a lot of learning. I, have done it. I've gone from having 5 schools to 4 schools to 9 schools to 7 schools. A lot of Google searches, a lot of time in front of a computer, a lot of conversations with friends, and a lot of self-reflection, and I think that is what the application process is about. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too rambly, and that you enjoyed kind of hearing why I'm applying to these schools, what my process was. If you like to hear more about me, definitely subscribe. And if you have any requests for anything, I'm down to do it. I've done a day in my life vlog, and I'm doing a lot of law school related things, and definitely keep an eye out for December, because there's an exciting one coming up. But yes, do let me know. I really just want to be more active. I want to give you all what you want, and also share my channel with any first gen, any Latina law school any Latina pre-law students, and any of your friends. I want to become a resource, but I also just definitely want to just share my journey so that I have something to look back to in the future. But yes, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.